Before I begin the review, a quick announcement. Due to personal reasons, I will be taking a bit of a sabbatical for a bit. There will be no new videos for the month of February. If you are watching this when it says uploaded in February, that's because the review was already done before January. So I will be taking a sabbatical, like I said, for personal reasons. One day, maybe I can explain it, but not today. Also, my stream schedule will be a little bit reduced. I still have some things I'd like to do, but I am going to reduce my time a bit there on Twitch, as well as from social media in general. Hopefully the sabbatical helps, and yeah. And trust me, I will be back in March, and we will be picking right where we left off by the end of this review. So enjoy my review of Tak and the Power of Juju. This is a game I didn't play as a kid, but if I did, it might have ended up in the category of not aged well. Most Nick games are based on Nickelodeon shows, but this is a case where the game came first, and the show later on. A whole 4 years later. But today we're looking at the game that started it all, Tak and the Power of Juju. Developed by Avalanche Software and co-published by Nick Games and THQ, this game was released on October 15, 2003 for North America and March 12, 2004 for Europe on the PS2 and GameCube. There is a GBA version, but I don't talk about handheld games much, so we're sticking with the console versions. The CEO of Avalanche Software, John Blackburn, created the idea of Tak back in 1995, but didn't pitch it until 1998. With several other noteworthy platformers in the 6th gen, Sly Cooper, Ratchet & Clank, and Jak and Daxter, Tak surely stood out in a good way, right? Well, I wish that was the case. The game's story is rather basic, but for a game aimed at a younger audience, I suppose it's not too big of a deal. The moon Juju, the protector of the Pupanunu people, becomes weakened by an evil shaman named Tialuk. He does this because he was passed up on being the high shaman in favor of Jibolba, and this plan to execute this revenge is to turn the Pupanunu people into sheep. His own saltiness is his own fault, long story short. Jibolba thinks his apprentice, Locke, is the one to save them all. But Locke has already been turned into a sheep. Thus, Jibolba sends the titular Tak, his younger apprentice, to save the day. With the help of the rest of his tribe, at least the ones who haven't been turned into sheep, and a few friends like Flora, it's up to Tak to rise to the call and save the land. Tak at its core is a basic platforming game, much like the other franchises we mentioned earlier. You pretty much do the standard platforming fare, such as navigating the lands via moving, jumping, and puzzle solving, along with the standard number of collectibles. Health in this game is represented by the feather on Tak's head, which is also represented at the top center of the screen via percent amount. If it goes down to 0, Tak falls and respawns at the nearest checkpoint. You can also collect blue feathers for fat magic, aka mana, orange for health, small purple for slight boost of health and magic, and gold gives you a full bar of health. As you advance, you'll gain a blowgun to use, and an upgraded version of the club that allows you to use the magic to cast Juju powers that help you, like restoring health and spawning a melon to use to throw or set or whatever else. One thing that makes Tak stand out from other platforming characters is that in addition to interacting with equipment, he can interact with various animals. These include orangutans, monkeys, emus, sheep, and rhinos. Orangutans pull down trees for Tak to step onto and be launched all the way across to the other side of a gap. Rhinos can smash walls to get to other areas. These add a nice touch to the game, as there wasn't really anything like it at the time, and it fits in well with the game's tribalistic jungle theme. In addition, there are also boarding sections of both snow and sand variety, and at one point you get to use a chicken suit on one of the levels. Finally, some boss battle with Tialuk's henchmen are also thrown in for a little extra variety. Now, everything sounds good so far, right? Well, mostly. Although there are some frustrating bits, the platforming does work as it should. Some abilities like rope swinging take a bit to get used to, but it's pretty easy to grasp for regulars of the genre. Yet there are a couple things that brought this game down for me, and these aren't minor things. For starters, this game can be very where the hell do I go at times. Early on you get some breathing room regarding this, but later on when the levels become much bigger, it can be much less forgiving. It doesn't help that you don't have a map to help guide you wherever you need to go, nor do you get an indication of where you need to go to access the next section later on. While you can pull up the objective screen in case you forget what you need to do, where to do it? Not so much. Even then, this doesn't compare to the real major problem I had with this game. One quest. One quest that completely and utterly grinds the game to a halt. Those goddamn Yorbles. You see, after you beat Pins and Needles the first time, Tak comes back to find Locke was trampled to death. In order to bring him back to life, they need 100 Yorbles to make sure the resurrection spell works right.
100 magic Yorbles?
Yes, don't complain.
Don't tell me not to complain, Jabulba. This is bullshit. The quest grinds the game to a halt because 1, the Yorbles are spread too thin throughout the big world, so getting them feels like a hunt. 2, because of the lack of navigational help, you can really get lost here. You'll often find yourself going back to areas that you already revisited where you thought there were more Yorbles but there really aren't, or you'll just go into an area where there's no Yorbles whatsoever to find. Finally, because of these problems, this quest feels much longer than it should. When I first played this back in 2020, I was not prepared for this at all. The game doesn't warn you or give you any leeway to anticipate this, and I actually had to cut a majority of this quest out of my Twitch streams of the game due to this. There isn't any other quest like it. It's the longest quest in the game, and it's awful. What really hurts is that there are still things to really like about Tak and the Power of Juju, mainly the aesthetics of it all. For starters, the graphics actually really look good for a platformer of this era. Character models look good, as do environments. There's plenty of uniqueness in the environments you find, like jungles, islands, snow areas, etc. Effects like water, snow, wind, and other things like that are well on display here, and they really are good given the time period. Everything is very cartoon-like in nature, and you would have sworn the show came first. The sound is also another highlight as well. Music for each of the levels fit well, all bounded by tribal themes, which really works given the nature of the game. Sound effects are also good because they sound in place, and there's plenty of variety in them. A few key missing sound effects though could have really enhanced things a bit. The voice acting is good for the most part. It's directed fine for the tone of the game, and the voice cast does have some good talent, like John Kassir, Patrick Warburton, Rob Paulson, and Jennifer Hale. Tak, however, is another story. Not so much his voice acting, it's done by Jason Marsden, and he does a good job like everybody else. It's just that Tak's dialogue outside of the cutscenes gets repetitive. Every time he takes down an enemy, he'll blurt out a one-liner. These lines start to repeat very fast and can get pretty mundane to hear after a while. He'll also say a line whenever you pull out the vaulting stick that gets super old really fast. But other than that, the voice acting is still good. Not much in terms of replayability though. I'll be honest, I heard how many people who did play Tak and the Power of Juju when it came out really enjoyed it. I was hoping to enjoy it myself, and while it looks, sounds, and plays well to a degree, the where the hell do I go nature of the game, along with the Yorbell quest, brings the game down for me personally. If the Yorbell quest wasn't such a pain and the game was a bit easier to navigate, I wouldn't have a problem recommending it. However, as it stands, I can only recommend this to people who have exhausted their list of platformers played and have nothing else in the genre to play. With THQ Nordic remaking/remastering many of the classic THQ IPs, like how Battle for Bikini Bottom got a remaster and Destroy All Humans getting a remake, I would hope Tak gets a remake and re-released onto modern platforms so some of the issues seen here could be fixed. If not for the Yorbell quest, I would have rated this game half a point higher than my final rating here. But as it stands, I hate to do this, but I give Tak and the Power of Juju a 2.5 out of 5. Sorry, Tak. Maybe your next entry will be better? Maybe? I guess we'll find out in March. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click the big red button below to subscribe. Check out the other links in the description for more cool stuff, and check out the playlist on screen for more content. See you in the next video.